So now we'll discuss the frequency shift keying technique. So basically, whatever the topics we discuss, that is the MRE PSK or MRE QAM, both share a common property and they both have the linear modulation techniques. So now in this common property, the linear modulation techniques, so now we'll discuss a non-linear method for modulation, and which is known as the FSK or frequency shift keying. Okay. So basically in the frequency shift keying, when we talk about the binary FSK, so in that case, M equal to 2, binary FSK M equal to 2, that means 2 point is there, and in these 2 points, one is for 1, another point symbols is equal to 0. Two symbols will be there, one symbol equal to 1, another symbol equal to 0. In the any binary FSK or PSK or your ASK. So two symbols is there. So these two symbols, we can use this formula to representing the FSK, and what is the basic phenomena for your FSK modulation techniques. So we use to different frequency for two different symbols. Okay, when we discuss the AS, I think the ASK is not discussed. So basically ASK, whenever there is a 1, there is a signal is there. If it is 0, there is a no signal. This is the ASK modulation. ASK modulation. Okay, in the PSK we have seen there is a phase shift of 180 degree, but in case of the FSK we are using two different. In the PSK also we are using for the 0 and 1, we are using the carrier with the same frequency, but there is a phase shift. But in case of frequency shifting modulation techniques, we are using two different frequency, but there is a continuous phase. So that means there is a no phase change is there that we normally consider. So that means we can represent the signal SIT that's equal to square root of 2 EB by TB cos 2 pi FIT. Okay, so here EV is the energy per bit, TB is the bit duration, and Fi, the value we choose the Fi, the frequency of that signal. So this is equal to NC plus 1 by TB. So this formula we are considering, so that so from there NC is the integer value. So it should be give us the integer value these terms. Okay. Okay. So now for 2 bits or 2 symbols, we can take a single orthogonal function. Only one basic function is enough to represent the 2 bits. So we are taking the phi 1, or if we want to take the two different orthogonal function, so what will happen? Can we take the two different orthogonal function to represent the for 2 bits? So basically the basic function is defined depending on the n value. So how many dimension we are considering. In some case also, if there is a 2 bits is there, we can also take the 2-dimensional. Okay. So basically if you look at the PAM or basically your ASK signal, so we have seen that in the case of the or phase shift keying. So basically in the PSK signal we have seen what we have seen. We have taken the single basic function. Okay, so that means this is the point, only this is the decision making point, and this is the phi 1 or phi, you can say the phi basic function. So phi 1. So these two are the 2 points we consider. Now if we want to represent the same thing or the PSK signal using the 2 basic, we can do it also. So in that case, when you're discussing the nonlinearity modulation techniques or FSK, we will take, what we will do, we will take the 2 basic function. Okay, so if we take the 2 basic function and the formula, and the basic formula for the basic function is this. Okay, the orthonormal. So that means, what is the meaning by orthonormal function? We know that if we multiply phi 1 with the phi 1, then it will give us 1. If we multiply the phi 1 with the phi 2, it will give us 0. So this is the main criteria for the orthonormal function. Okay, so basically when taking the 2 orthonormal value, that means it is a 2-dimensional value we are considering. Okay, and this is the formula for representing the phi it, which is equal to your square root of 2 by tb cos 2 pi fit, and the t belongs to your 0 to tb, otherwise it will be 0. So now if we calculate the what is the coefficient of the s vector, that is Sij. So Sij is normally represented by the Sij, that's equal to integration of 0 to tb sit into phi j t dt. This is the formula. Now if we put those value, already we have that value sit, this value, and phi it is this value. We put this value and we are doing the integration 0 to t. Okay, generally it is minus 2 minus infinity to infinity. These have the value 0 to tb, and remaining case it is 0. That's why we are doing the integration 0 to tb. Okay, so now if we solve that integration, what we will get? Sij, that will be your square root of eb when I equal to j, and 0 when I not equal to j. Okay, that we'll get after solving the or simplifying this value. Okay, यहाँ पे कोई डाउट है? Okay, no. So now in that case, what we can do, 2 masses point we can define by the s vector. So s1 equal to, in this square bracket, square root of eb and 0 one masses point, and second masses point s2 equal to 0 by 0 and square root of eb. That means if we point these 2 value, okay, so for the first one, s1 equal to, what is the value? Square root of eb and 0. So this point it is indicating. In the second case, it is indicating this point. So these are the 2 masses point, and these are the value of the masses. Square root of r equals in the amplitude. So now if we look at the signal shape, so in the signal shape, what should be this value? So basically S1T, S1T means when we are transmitting 1, and S2T is when we are transmitting 0. Okay. Okay. So these are the signals. So if we calculate and if we look at these 2 signals, there is a difference of frequency. So say bit duration is the same. In this case, number of the frequency is more. In this case, frequency is less. Okay. So now if we draw the, how to draw the boundary or decision boundary. So there is a one way to draw the decision boundary. The thing is that we need to connect these two points by through a straight line. So now if we draw a perpendicular in the point of these 2 points, and the dotted line is show this middle point, okay, and it is perpendicular to this line, so that will give us the decision boundary. So basically in this figure, so that means whenever we are transmitting a symbol, so with the say M1, whenever it is fall in this region, so two region will be there, one region equal to Z1 and second region equal to Z2. So if any value after affecting by the noise, if it belong to this region, that means it is indicating the message point M1. If it is indicating at the region of Z2, so that means it is indicating the message point M2. Two different messages it is indicating. Okay. So now how to calculate the equidistant distance? That means equidistant distance means distance between these 2 points. If we take the difference of these 2 points, so which is equal to your square root of 2 EB. Yes or no? This value equal to EB, square root of EB. This value is the square root of EB. What is the value of this point? Sorry. Square root of EB square root of EB, and this is your 90 degree. What is this value? This will give us the distance between these 2 points. Okay. So what is this value? This will be square root of 2EB square. EB. Square root of 2EB. So in that way, we are getting the equidistant distance between the two message points. Okay. So now how to generate the or detect the BFSK signal or binary phase frequency shift keying signal. So two things is there. First, we are using when we are generating the BFSK signal. In this case, there is a one-off level encoder we are using, and with the level encoder with a constant amplitude of EB. Okay, so basically the EB is responding the symbols 1 and 0 is responding to 0. Okay, so now the binary data sequence we are generating the BFSK signal. So what is there? The binary data sequence will be there. Then there is a on-off level encoder. So on-off level encoder, what it will do? By looking at the input sequence, it will decide it the signal will goes. Basically we can see or we can consider this point as a switch. So if the value equal to 1, then it will go there. If it is 0, it will go there. So that means the on-off level encoder, it is working as a switch for taking the decision where the signal will go. So when there is a bit 1 is the input, the message signal will go there and it will multiply with the phi 1t. Okay. So now there is a no signal, there is a signal, that time there is a no signal. Okay. Now when there is a no signal, in that case there is a signal. So now when it is 0, in that case there will be no signal, and we are sending the signal through this path and before multiplying with the second basic function, what we are doing, we are inverting the message point. So that means message signal. So we are getting the empty bar. Okay, inverter of the message signal. Now we are multiplying is this with the basic function with the frequency of f2, and if we add up these two signal, we'll get the binary FSK signal at the output or ST. So basically in the ST, what we will get, if we write the expression for the ST, so ST in this, from there we are writing ST equal to MT phi 1, so write T plus MT bar phi T. These two value we are getting over there ST. Okay, now at the receiver, when we are getting the, okay, so before going to the receiver, coherent binary FSK receiver, so when we are generating the signal, so we require the two oscillator, because you see we are for the basic to basic function, there is a difference in the frequency. So F1 is there and F2 is there. That means we require the two oscillator for generating the frequency F1 and F2. Okay. And that F1 and F2 we are generating, it should be multiple integer of 1 by TB. We should follow the norms. So F1, we can say F1 equal to N into this. F2 also M into 1 by TB. So basically what I am trying to say from there, whenever we are generating a frequency for either symbols 1 or 0, the frequency should be multiple integer of 1 by TB. The reason for that, for taking the F1 value equal to multiple integer on 1 by TB, main reason is that the continuous in phase. So if we just do not consider the value F1 by the integer multiply of this, what will happen? Suppose in this case, how many? 1, 2, 3, n equal to say 3, and m equal to here 1, 2, 3, 4 we have considered. Two different value. And definitely that integer value should be different because we are considering two different frequency. F1 and F2 is the different, so M and N it should be different. Okay. So now if there is a not integer multiply of that 1 by TB, in that case, suppose it is stopped over here in this position. Okay. Suppose the TB is ended there. Sorry. TB is ended there. So next symbol is started from there. So that means there is a no signal. That means it is suddenly started from there. So there is a phase continuity is not there. So phase change is there. To avoiding the phase change, what we have to do? We have to take we have to choose the F1 and F2 such that it should be multiple integer 1 by TB. That is the reason. Okay. Is there any doubt? Okay. So, and definitely there when we are generating the two frequency, through the two oscillator, there should be a synchronization between the F1 and M2. If there is no synchronization in the F1 and M2, F1 and F2, then there is a possibility of mismatching the frequency phase continuity. So that means there will not be a phase continuity will not be there if there is no synchronization between the F1 and M2. Okay, for that we did so. And now there is a one oscillator is there which is called the voltage controlled oscillator. If we use the voltage control oscillator without synchronizing the F1 and F2, we may achieve a phase continuity in these two signal. Okay, so that means we can, if we use the, we are using the oscillator over there. So now if we use the voltage control oscillator, so there is no need of the synchronization between these two oscillator. Automatically the voltage control oscillator will take care of that synchronization automatically. Okay, so that means the question may ask from here that like this, suppose we don't have any synchronization between the F1 and F2, so how to achieve say your phase continuity in FSK? So that means the answer should be that if we use the voltage control oscillator, in that case we can achieve the phase continuity without synchronizing the generation of F1 and F2. Okay. Okay. Now this is the receiver. So in the receiver, what is there? There are two. So what is this is called? Tell me someone. Previously we discussed. It is called the. This is the correlators. Already I discussed there. We use the correlators when we discuss the FSK. So basically, the ST is the receive signal, and the ST will pass through the two correlator, and one correlator is multiplied with the basic function of phi 1 t. Second one is the basic function of phi 2 t, and we'll get the two receive signal S1 and S2. Okay. So now see, as we know, is the ST. Suppose the symbol is send is equal to 1. That means with the phi 1 t. So now if that signal is reached there and it goes through these two correlator, and in the correlator input there is the signal is multiplied with the basic function also, orthonormal basic function. So these two are the same, so we'll get message over there. Since in this case for difference we will not get any message over there. So definitely we can say this is 0 and this is some value we'll get. So now if we take the difference, that means it will give some value. And normally what we are doing, we are putting in the decision device with the threshold of 0. So that means whenever the y value is greater than 0, that means we are sending 1. Okay. And now if we send 0, that means we are sending the signal with the basic function of phi 2 t. So that means when the phi 2 t is multiplied with the theta 1 t, it will be 0. And in this case, there will be a value, and this value will be the negative, because if you see this point, so basically this is the difference. Whenever you suppose you are getting some value over there, say square root of EB, you are getting over there after multiplying this. So now 0 minus CB, that means it will give us the negative value. Okay, so that's why the when we compare the difference, that means y equal to x1 minus x2. So that means if the y value is the greater than 0, it is giving 1. If y value is less than 0, it is 0. That means we have to choose the 0 bit was sent. So now definitely there is a possibility that y equal to 0. So if y equal to 0, in that case, what will happen? That means in this case, we can say, if we look at the boundary condition, so when y equal to greater than 0, the signal is belongs to this point or region Z1. When y is less than 0, it is belongs to this region. Okay, region Z2. So now if y equal to 0, when y equal to 0, that means the data on the decision boundary. So in this point, any point on the decision boundary, the signal belongs. So in that case, what you will take the decision, or what should be the decision of the decision device at the receiver? Anyone? So basically, when the difference equal to 0, in that case, the decision will take randomly, or that flip of a fair coin, either 0 or 1. So we can take either 0 or 1. It is basing on the random manner it will be taken. So there may be a probability of error when we are taking this kind of thing. Okay, to finding the binary probability, that error probability for the binary FSK, we already discussed that we have to take a observation vector, and in the observation vector there is two component, S1 and S2. So and we define this observe. Okay, so already we define these two. Is the PDF is visible, na?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the two vector component, we know what is the value of these two vector or element for observation vector. So S1 and S2, and S1 and S2 is defined by this expression, and where ST is the receive signal, and in the receive signal, when we talk about the error, so that means there is a noise is there, involvement of noise is there. So that means we can represent the xt by terms. One is your S1t plus WT, and second is the S2t plus WT. That means two symbols S1t along with the noise, and another symbol S2t with the noise. So these are the two value for the ST we can get when we considering the noise over there. Okay, and if we see the figure over there, so in this figure, what we consider, there is a two value S1 and S2 is there, and we are getting another random value Y from there, and we have already take the decision based on the what is the value of Y. So now we have seen if the Y is greater than 0, then it belongs, means it's indicating the 1 was sent, or the decision will be taken for bit 1. If the Y is less than 0, then it will be considered the 0 bit was sent. Okay, so now the thing is that we can represent the Y as a random vector. If S1 and S2 is a random vectors, random variables, so we can also consider the Y as a random variables, and it has a mean value depending on, and the mean value of Y will be depending on the Gaussian random variables x1 and x2. Okay. So now that means what is the random mean and mean and your mean value for the Gaussian distribution for S1 and S2. So now if we look at that expression from here, okay, so we can find out the random means S1 value, the mean value will be your square root of EB, and for S2, the mean value will be equal to X2, the mean value will be 0. So these are the two mean value for these two random variables, S1 and S2. Okay. So now if we put the random variables in the conditional probability means, then in the conditional probability means the random variable y we have taken, and we are taking that conditional probability when we send the symbols 1. Okay, so normally we represent by this. So one is the E of estimation of y, y of 1, and E of x1 by 1 and minus x2 by 1. So that is the estimation when we send the random by symbols 1. So definitely the mean value or average value of these terms, this term is the mean value equal to square root of EB, and mean value of this term equal to your 0. So that means we can say the mean value of the estimation of y of 1, that is equal to plus square root of EB. Okay, so when we are getting the estimation value of this, when we are transmitting the symbols 1. Okay, in the other end, when we send 0, so in that case, what will happen? The random variable x1 as x2 have the two mean value 0 and square of EB respectively. For the S1 means this is the case. If you look at the this, okay. So now if we see the S1, it is indicating we are sending the bits 1 or symbols 1. So in that case, we got this mean value, okay, for the two different. And when we consider the 0 was sent, this is the mean value 0 and this. So that thing we are taking over there. So when we are sending symbols 1, that time we are considering the mean value for the x1 equal to square root of EB, and mean value for the x2 equal to 0. So now when we send the bits 0 or symbols 0, in that case, the mean value for the S1 it will be 0, and mean value for the S2 it will be square root of EB. So that means we can get the conditional mean value E of y slash 0, that's equal to minus of EB, square root of EB. Okay. So now if we want to find out the variance, and one thing is that y is a random variables and it is independent which binary symbol was sent. So totally that y value is not depends on the sending value. And the random variable you already know, when we discussed the earlier topics, we have seen that two variables x1 and x2 are statistically independent. So that means we can take the variance of y by taking average, adding the variance of these two value. Okay, and what is the variance for the s1 x1 and x2? Since x1 and x2 is the noise, and we know the power spectrum means power spectrum density for the noise equal to n naught 0 by 2. So this is the property for the Gaussian additive Gaussian noise, additive white Gaussian noise basically. Okay, so in the AWGN noise or AWGN channel, so when we talk about the Gaussian noise, that is the variance for the these random variables x1 and x2. So now to get the random variable variance for the random variable y, what we can do? We can add up these two values when they are statistically independent. So we add up these two values, putting the n naught by 2 plus n naught by 2. So that means we are getting the variance of y equal to n naught. Okay. So now if we want to get the conditional probability density function when we are sending its symbols 0 and the binary variables y. Okay, so that means the conditional probability density function from the Gaussian probability, basically that for the expression we get here, this is basically represent the Gaussian distribution. From the Gaussian distribution you will get that, and the probability we can write in this form, that probability density function for the random variable y, f of y, that's equal to y slash 0, and 0 indicating the 0 symbol was sent, that's equal to 1 by square root of 2 pi n naught exponential of minus of y plus square root of eb whole square by 2 n naught. Okay, so now since the condition s1 is greater than s2, okay, or in that case we can say y is greater than 0. So already we discussed when the receiver will consider the 0 symbol, it will consider the symbol 1 at the receiver. Okay, so based on the s1 and s2 value, receiver will take the decision. So when it will take the decision for the in favor of symbols 1, the condition was x1 should be greater than 2x2, and for 0 x1 should be less than 2x2. That was the condition. Okay, so now if we say that conditional probability of error of symbols 0, that means we are receiving symbols 1, but at the transmitter side was sent. So in that case we can find out the conditional probability of error. Okay, so how we represent that conditional probability of error when we send 0 and we receive 1? So we represent by the p10. So normally first is the indicating the what we receive and what we send. Okay, so p of y greater than 0, symbols 0 was sent. So from the transmitter we are saying symbol 0 was sent. So now this is equivalent to integration of 0 to infinity f of y, y of 0 dy. So now if we put this value from this expression, so we'll get that term. Okay, so now this is the expression we are getting after replacing the value of probability density function in the your conditional probability of error. Okay, so now if we consider this y plus square root of eb by n naught square root of n naught, that's equal to z. So that means what we are doing, we are changing the integration over there. Okay, so when we changing the symbols of the integration, and what we are considering, we are taking this value equal to z and we are putting the corresponding value over there. Okay, so if we put those value in this equation by considering this value equal to z, so we can find out what is the value of dy and corresponding, and if we change the limit of the integration, we'll get that expression. I hope there is no doubt if how we are getting that expression. Is there any doubt? Bolo. So you see, when y equal to 0, what is the limit for the integration? Y 0 and infinity. When y equal to 0, z will be your integral means square root of eb by square root of n naught. That means we are putting that thing. And when y equal to infinity, z will be the infinity. So this is there. As I told, if we take the derivative of this, so we can see that dy by square root of n naught, that's equal to your dz from there. Okay, so now that means that's why you see there was a n naught, square root of n naught was there, but it is not here because this term is equivalent to dz. Okay, and if we put that value over there, so z square, and it will comes, since there is a 2 is there, so basically there will be on 2 will be there. Okay, there is no doubt na? If we take the square of this, so this is equivalent to this part. Okay, so there is a 2 is there in the denominator, so we put that value. So this is the expression, and this is equivalent to what? It is equivalent to your q function of square root of eb by n naught. Okay, so this is a property for the q function. When we're defining a q function, that is the phenomenon. So what is the probability of error? Probability of error PE, which is equivalent to your q function of square root of EB by n naught. Okay. So now from there, what we can conclude? So basically, if we look at this, similarly, when we are getting 1, when we send 0, the probability we are getting this value equal to this. Again, we can receive 0 when we send 1, and we can find out what is the probability of P101, this value, and it will come out the same value. So now what we can do, we can add these two value to get the probability of error for the BFSK. Okay, and thing is that why we are taking the average value of these two. The main reason is that both 0 and 1 are the equal probability, have the equiprobable. Okay, so that's why we are taking the average probability of bit error. Okay, and that will give us the PE equal to this value. Okay, in this case also, this is the value. For this case also, this is the value. Okay, so take the average, so we'll get only the PE equal to this. Okay, so now we'll see the power spectrum of the binary FSK signal. So to discuss the power spectrum of the binary FSK signal, what we have to considering over there, we are considering the modulated signal or frequency modulated signal that's equal to square root of 2 EB by TB cos of 2 pi FCT plus minus pi T by TB for T belongs to 0 to TB. Okay, so basically this is a frequency modulated signal. Okay, and in the frequency, you see, when we start the discussing the FSK, there we have considered the two frequency is there. F1 and F2. And in the frequency modulation, frequency is changed depending on the input message signal. Okay, so frequency of carrier is changed depending on the message signal for the frequency modulation. Okay, so now in this case, when the frequency will change from F1 to F2 or F2 to F1 after a bit duration of the TV. Okay, so that means there is a bit rate of 1 by TB, we can say. Okay, and as we mentioned earlier, there is a continuity in the phase need to be maintained. So that means when there is a, suppose we are sent 0, then 1, then 0. So that enter symbol at the inter symbol or enter bit switching, there should be a continuity in the phase. Okay. So to maintain the continuity in the phase at the inter bit switching times, what we can do? We can express the binary phase shift keying signal as a frequency modulated signal. Okay. So in the frequency modulated signal, this is the expression. Okay. So if we do the trigonometry over there, so we can write that expression equal to this. Okay. Is there any doubt if we write this? Just tell me, is there any doubt or not? What we are doing, just we are expanding the cos of 2 pi fct plus minus pi t by tb. Okay. And 1 by tv equal to your bit rate. Okay. So basically, we'll see the last line means that means this line, what is there is corresponding the transmitted symbol 0 by the minus sign. So basically, there is a plus minus sign will be there. That this cos plus minus theta equal to cos theta, but for the sign plus minus means plus minus. So that means what we are getting, the minus plus sign is there in the last line. Okay, so that means the minus sign is indicating when we transmitting symbols 1 and plus sign is indicating when we are transmitting symbols 0. Okay, so now there is a two, if we see this equation, so there are two components is there. One is the in phase component and quadrant component. Okay, quadrature components. So what is the in phase component? The in phase, this is the your, this is our in phase component, and this is our quadrature component for this. So that means the xt is dependent or two elements. One is the in phase component and second is the quadrature component. Okay, so the in phase component is completely independent on the binary inputs wave. So as I told, this is the in phase component, and if we look at this value, so there is a totally independent of the what is the input binary wave. Okay, and the power spectrum density for this component consists of two delta function. Yes or no? Because there is a cost term is there, and when we calculate the power spectrum density, what we do? We normally take the Fourier transform, and for the Fourier transform of a cosine signal, it gives us the two delta function. Is it? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that means for the in-phase component, what we are getting when we are calculating the power spectrum density, and if you recall the definition of the power spectrum density, the power spectrum density is equal to your integration of Fourier transform of that term with the over a time periods, the TB, bit duration basically. So, so that means there is a two delta function is there, and from there we can find out where is the delta function will be. So the delta function will be 1 by 2 TB position 1, and another is the minus same value 1 by this is plus value 1 by 2 TB position. So in this two position we have the two delta function. Okay, and what is the weight of this delta function? That means amplitude will be equal to 2 EB square root of 2 EB by TB. Okay, so this is the amplitude for the delta function. Okay, or magnitude you can say. So and occurring, and when this value is occurring, basically you can say at t equal to this time t equal to plus minus 1 by 2 TB, it is occurring, and at the frequency where it is occurring, the position it is also at this position, this value. Okay. So now if we, for the quadrature component, if we directly relate it to the binary sequence, input binary sequence. So basically the quadrature component is related with the whatever the binary sequence we send, because there is a plus minus signs is there. So that means the plus minus signs is depending on the which bit was sent from the transmitter. Okay, so that's why the quadrature component is directly related to the binary sequence. So for a time duration of 0 to TV, okay, if there is a, we consider there is a signals of GT, okay, on GT and minus GT, and what is the GT? When we GT is corresponding the symbols 1, and plus GT is representing the symbols of 0. So that means if we look at that, we are taking the plus minus GT, okay, and plus signs it is indicating the 0, and minus sign it is indicating the 1. So now if we compare with this signal, suppose GT is a quadrature function, and if we compare the GT with this, what we can write? We can write GT that's equal to square root of 2 EB by TB sine of pi t by TB for 0 to TB, and GT equal to 0 for others case, other time duration. That means we can write this expression. Okay. So now is there any doubt how we are representing the GT? So GT, we are just considering a function GT, which is the quadrature function, and that quadrature function will come from there. This value is represented in terms of the GT. Okay. So now if we calculate the energy spectrum for the GT, so energy spectrum density of GT is defined by this expression. If we solve, because this is the expression of the GT, Now if we do the Fourier transform, then if we calculate the energy spectrum density, okay, for that function, we will get that expression. Okay, so basically you can, if you solve it, you can get that expression. Okay, so power spectrum density for the quadrature component is, as I told, is energy spectrum density over the bit duration. So that is the power spectrum density for the quadrature component. So power density for the total signal will be, there is a two components. So one component is the in phase component. This is the power spectrum density of the your in phase component, and this is the power spectrum density for the quadrature component. So we are adding these two components, because you see in this expression the st, this two term is added. So in phase component and the quadrature component is added over there. So that means to get the overall power spectrum density, we can add the power spectrum density of the two component individual components. Okay. So now from, if we recall the your Fourier transform for this, your basically baseband modulated signal, the power spectrum. So power spectrum for the baseband modulated signal, that is represented by in this way. So basically this power spectrum or baseband modulated power spectrum, you will get that expression when you solve the problem in the basically your baseband modulated signal. Okay, so I think I did not discuss this. Okay, anyhow, just remember this thing. So what is there, the total power spectrum density, there is a one is two component is there, on f minus fc, another equal to f plus fc, these two component. Now fc, what is the fc over here? Fc is the carrier frequency. Okay, so now if we substitute this value in this expression, that means this is the SB. Okay, and if we put the say f minus fc over there and we solve it, are you getting this point? So now if we want to calculate the power spectrum density, okay, so for like a modulated baseband modulated signal, so basically at the beginning we have considered ST, which is a frequency modulated signal. Okay, so in here what we are doing, we are calculating this value, the SSF, and that's equal to this, and we calculate what is the already function of this over here. Okay, now if we replace the f by the f minus fc or f plus fc, and if we add these terms, so we'll get this value SSF. Okay, okay, so we are getting that value, and from there we can make a conclusion that binary FSK signal consists of two discrete frequency components, which is located at Fc plus T plus TB, which is equal to F1. Another is located Fc minus 1 minus 2 by TB, that is F2. Two frequency component. Basically, if we place over there Fc, we need to find out the two frequency component for the binary FSK, and where this frequency component will be located, and the frequency, the discrete frequency component for the F1 and F2 we need to calculate from there, and F1 will be this and F2 will be this. Okay. So okay. So now from there we can make a statement, and from this expression the statement is given the baseband power spectrum density for a binary FSK signal with continuous phase ultimately falls of a inverse fourth power of the frequency. So fourth power means it is coming from there. So when you discuss the power spectrum density for your BSK, we have seen there is a power spectrum density for the FSK also. So now if we look at that two power spectrum density, for the binary FSK, it is not going to zero immediately. So there is a side lobe is there. But for the binary FSK, there is no side lobe. So it is gradually decreasing the value. Okay. And what is the rate over there? Basically, the rate of basically when we normalize the value, we are normalize the SBF by 2EB. So that means the value is plotted in the y-axis. It is normalized value with respect to 2EB. And in the x-axis, the normalized frequency with the TB. Okay. So these two things we have done over there. And okay. So this two thing we concluded from this figure on is that there is a side lobes is there for the binary PSK, and for the binary FSK there is no side lobe is there. Okay, gradually goes to the zero, and in this figure only the right hand positive frequency component was shown. So for the negative frequency component you can draw the similar just mirror of that. Okay. So from this figure, we can make a statement: the binary FSK signal with the continuous phase does not produce as much interference outside the signal band of interest as a corresponding the FSK signal with the discontinuous phase does. So that means if there is a phase continuity is there, the interference will be less. If there is a phase discontinuity is there, interference will be more. Okay. So basically for that advantage of there is a we can make a conclusion for there. The advantage of the continuous FSK is gained at the expense, and the thing is that to get the continuous phase, so what we have to compromise the expenses of the increased system complexity. That means the complexity of the system will increase if we want to design a system with the continuous phase. And the discontinuous phase we can easily design, but for design a continuous phase, it will be the complexity will be more of the system. Okay.